What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to My Social Life. This is the podcast where we teach you how to grow your social media by talking to the people that have actually done it. My guest today is Andrew Szeto, better known as Szeto. Szeto, you can find him on Instagram at SZETO, SZETO. And he is probably one of Ottawa's most interesting people. He's a photographer and a videographer. He's a skateboarder and a woodworker. And for a lot of his projects with woodworking, he recycles old skateboards and turns them into stuff like canoe paddles, baseball bats, levitating plant holders. And he's also a world traveler. And we're going to get into a lot in this podcast. Obviously, we're going to talk about his Instagram and how he grew it to over 21.9 thousand followers and the importance of being featured by other pages to help him grow. We're also going to talk about his woodworking process, building canoe paddles out of old skateboards, and we're going to talk about some crazy stories he has from his world travels. Stories like where he was within 10 feet from a whale to take its picture, a story where he was in Vietnam and he was in an accident that led to him being in a Vietnamese holding cell in the middle of nowhere being interrogated while he was still bleeding from the accident. It's a crazy story, guys, and you're just going to have to listen to it. There's no way I could explain it as well as he can. It's unbelievable. Another thing we're going to try with this episode is if you're listening to this episode, whether it be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever, screenshot it and put it on your Instagram story, tag at MySocialPod, and I will share it to the My Social Life Instagram page, which is at MySocialPod. Also, if you're watching this episode on video and the quality is a little bit different than it usually is, I'm trying something new out where I've got a couple webcams and I'm trying to live edit the podcast on the fly in terms of video, switching from one camera to the other. I'm also having trouble with the cameras. It worked to an extent, but it's definitely not quite the quality I was hoping for, something I have to work on in the coming weeks. So if you're wondering what's going on with the video, that's why. If you're following my personal Instagram at the Jacob Kelly, you will have seen this process as I'm documenting every single day on my Instagram story behind the scenes of this podcast, my job, everything. So if you want to check that out, it's again my personal Instagram at the Jacob Kelly. But anyways, enough of me talking away here. This is an awesome interview, guys. It's a great conversation. Let's get to it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to My Social Life. This is the podcast where we teach you how to grow your social media by talking to the people that have actually done it. My guest today is Andrew Szeto, and you do a lot of things, so I'm going to let you kind of explain what you do and who you are a little bit.
Okay. Sure. So I'm Andrew. I mostly just tinker. That's kind of how I like to describe myself, I guess. Don't really think I'm one of anything in particular, but yeah, I just mess around. Woodworking, photography, skateboarding stuff, filming, all of it, and just kind of having fun.
Yeah. So you're like a really interesting dude. Like, 'cause I did my research and I broke it down into, I think, 6 different categories. So I had photo, video, the woodworking, skateboarding. I had motorbike aficionado written down. I
messed around.
Yeah. And then I had world traveler / adventurer. And that one I pulled right from your website.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, I haven't updated that website in a long time.
No worries.
Instagram is the new website, I find, or just your social media platforms are where everyone's at anyways. So it's that website, you'll notice even the resolution of the photos and sizing of the photos is kind of off. I just haven't touched it. Like, I don't know. Like, I probably should be updating that stuff, but yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So what kind of came first? If I was to guess, I'd say skateboarding, but I could be very wrong.
Definitely skateboarding, yeah. So, I mean, just grew up skateboarding. I actually moved to Canada from the States, and out there I was kind of really skateboarding a lot when I lived in California. And so that was really, kind of set the path for everything, and I'm very much stoked on that and stuff. So, yeah, skateboarding.
So do you remember your first board?
It was a silver Think skateboard. Think's a company out of San Francisco. They're kind of awesome. They folded a few years back and stuff. Yeah.
Did you ever compete?
Yeah, I did. In Castle, California Amateur Skateboard League and stuff like that. Yeah, I competed in a handful of contests and stuff, and always in the unsponsored category, mind you.
Okay.
Like, I was just like a grom, like, in California. My parents were kind of all over the place. Like, my mom, it was in tech, which is why we're in California in the first place. My dad stayed here in Canada, actually. And so I was pretty much left to my own devices most evenings and stuff like that. So as long as I got my homework done, as long as I'm Asian, so as long as I got my A's and everything, my parents didn't care. So it was just like, do whatever. And when I first got to California, it was just like a pack of kids in a parking lot skateboarding. like this movie from Jonah Hill, mid 90s, is about to come out, and it's gonna blow everyone's minds, I think. But it's just like that, like you're kind of just left to your own devices, and here's this pack of kids that are just like doing their thing, and that just immediately drew me, and showed up and got aboard. Sucked. Took a couple years to actually get somewhere, and made friends, and just kind of went from there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So was it like an empty parking lot you were saying where you guys would kind of
It was
meet,
actually
or?
a parking lot beside the skate shop.
Okay,
so
cool.
the shop was called Gone Surfing. It was in Roanoke Park, California, and a lot of homies and a lot of good memories in that parking lot.
Yeah. So was it like no like ramps or anything? It was literally just a parking lot?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, it
really?
was,
So you guys had to be kind of creative then.
Street skateboarding.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Kind of leads me to like this theory I have that like skateboarders breed like some of the best creative minds just because basically anywhere they go, they can kind of visualize like different tricks they can do on different objects and stuff.
Yeah.
I just see like, I look around at other creatives and like people like Casey Neistat, he skateboards, Peter McKinnon skateboards, like all these different people, Daniel Schiffer out of Toronto.
They kind of skateboard.
Yeah. They don't, like, not completely, but like there's
They're-
definitely a little, and I just kind of have that. What do you think? Like, do you think skateboarding breeds like a lot of creativity? It's just something I've kind of seen.
Yeah, those guys are incredible. Don't get me wrong. I'm obviously have a bias, but absolutely, like you have folks like Spike Jonze, who's created some of the most epic movies of all time, in my opinion. He's now running Viceland, their whole television side of things, and he owns Chocolate and Girl Skateboards. He owns like that whole distro and stuff, and he's an incredible skateboarder, and yeah, I mean, all those guys you mentioned have hints of like having had skateboard, and they still ride skateboards around clearly, and so yeah, definitely I think it's you're kind of, it's the hardest thing to do, I think, like tricks and skateboarding and stuff like that. And so if you're able to kind of perspire through all that stuff and kind of get there, just you're a dedicated person, I find. So kind of goes from there.
Yeah. So then did you kind of pick up the camera because of skateboarding to shoot like demos and stuff?
Not demos and stuff, but like skateboarding. So I'd shoot videos or photos, of the homies and stuff like that. And yeah, that's how I kind of got into the magazines, and everything kind of then went on from there.
Yeah. What do you mean by like the magazines?
So the magazines, skateboard magazines. So in Canada, I ran a whole bunch with King Shit at the time, SBC at the time, and what was Concrete Skateboarding at the time too. Concrete's folded, SBC still has gone and then come back, and then King Shit is now just King because shit makes it a little too hardcore or something like that. So yeah.
So kind of when did you start? When did you kind of pick up a camera for the first time?
I was sponsored at the time, so like roughly around when I was 23, 24. I'm 32 now, so it's been a minute. But yeah, so like probably like 9 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not bad. Do you know what your first camera was?
It was a Nikon D300.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because it could shoot sequences at the time. And it was like, there's a very few cameras that shot like your 7-8 frames per second. And that was one of the cameras that did. And so it's just like, that's the one to start off with. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then, so I know it's not been updated in a while, but on your website, I saw you do weddings and stuff. So you kind of...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So...
Yeah, I still do.
Still do?
Yeah. It's like the best money making thing. Like it's super lucrative and stuff like that. These days, there were days where I'd do 12 a year, up to a dozen a year and stuff. And these days I really just keep it to about 3 or 4 a year. And kind of my thing is just like, if it's a wedding that I was going to be at anyways, then I would do it. If it's not, then I'm just like, yeah, I'd rather spend my time building something or something else. Yeah.
That's fair. So you've done kind of photography for skateboarding and magazines, weddings. Have you done anything else professionally with photography?
Photography? Yeah. I mean, photography and video these days, it's just like, that's kind of how I make my living, right? So my day job is I'm the multimedia guy at the Coast Guard. That's what I do. So I'm on ships, I'm on helicopters, and document what it is we do for the Coast Guard. Mind you, it's mired in government bureaucracy sometimes, so it's not the biggest creative outlet or anything like that, but it can be pretty fun. And then I do a lot of gig work, essentially a lot of freelance type stuff. Like right now I'm working with tourism on a video. I just finished a project with Husqvarna not too long ago, Husqvarna motorcycles, documenting their bikes and stuff, and just random stuff that comes up all the damn time, which is awesome. Yeah, I'm really stoked on that stuff.
So with gig work and like weddings,
Yep.
Usually there's like primary and secondary shooter. Do you have a secondary shooter? You just do it all on your own?
Not really. I bring on some second shooters when I can, and it's awesome. Like there's a lot of really great talent in the city, and so I've been really fortunate to bring folks along. One guy I have help with is Will Smith. That's his actual name. He's awesome. WRW Smith on the gram. Will is just a wicked dude. He's shooting with these guys now, Raised by Wolves, and just up and coming in the city. I really like him, and he's just got great attitude and everything like that. And so just when it makes sense and stuff. But I usually work solo. Oh, and this dude Mike McKay, my homie Mike McKay. He helped me on the tourism shoot of late too, and he's an awesome guy. I'm actually hoping to learn a lot from him and stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then so you talk about doing video stuff too.
Yeah.
So you started photography, and then like how long until you kind of started doing video? Or was it like almost...
Video's really only been like the last few years, I want to say. And I mean, if you the inevitable question will probably be like, photo or video these days or something like that. Video, I find is just like you can tell so much of a richer story with it. And that, I've just been, my head is in video, understanding that I'll grab a few frames that'll work for photo these days. That's kind of, when it comes down to that, I think just video is just the way kind of. Yeah.
So with gig work, so you do photo and video gig work?
Yep.
How long did it take for you to land your first like paid job?
So that really depends. Like, I mean, if you're talking about like skate photography side of things, where I was paid to, have photos for magazines and stuff like that, probably 2 years after I started, I want to say, or a year or two after I started. Andrew Norton, who was the editor at SBC at the time, was kind of the person who mentored me through a lot of that stuff, and was just like, maybe you can do this with this photo, maybe you can do that with that photo. And he's incredible. He now runs a podcast on the CBC, and it's awesome. He's just such an amazing dude. And every video that he shoots now, so he's gone from photo to radio to video. Every video he shoots becomes a Vimeo staff pick. He's just kind of like that dude who's just so talented, and mentored me a lot and big inspiration.
Mm-hmm. You talk about Vimeo.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people I know post on Vimeo, but I saw that you do a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I just use it now for work, to be quite honest with you. I post probably 3 to 4 videos to Vimeo a week, but they're all private and they're all Coast Guard videos. So I just use it as a service these days. Whereas, you put stuff where the eyes are, and the eyes are kind of more on YouTube. For me, definitely Instagram, but I'm trying to grow that YouTube side of things, and there are more people on it. So it's just one of those where, I'll put private videos on Vimeo and, have a whole workflow on Vimeo, but everything then goes to YouTube and stuff, and just, that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so did woodworking come before, or I guess came after photos then, right?
Yeah. Woodworking kind of just came about a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So were you expecting to get into it at all, or was it just kind of like you stumbled into it, or?
So, I mean, that's an interesting one. I just think it's one of those things where I was looking for something a little more concrete to do in my life, kind of use my hands a little bit more. Having done the photo video stuff for a little bit up to that point, it was just like, what can I do that's more just tangible in my hands, as opposed to just being behind a computer all the damn time, right? And so that's where it kind of came about. And it's just been an awesome ride. And, I just spent all of last night pretty much in the wood shop, and I guess we're back because of it. But mind you, it's just like, I don't know, it's my passion for sure. I'm not I get out of there, got the biggest smile on my face just looking at the progress that's kind of been done and stuff. So
that's awesome. And a big thing I noticed that you do with woodworking is you kind of upcycle or recycle broken skateboards.
Yep.
So how did that become something that you were doing? Did you
that was the nugget. That was the genesis for even going into it, right? You're talking about social stuff right now. It's all about your story, right? And my story is definitely skateboarding. It's kind of where I came from. It's kind of all my thoughts kind of straight up revolve around a lot of that stuff, and, definitely come from it. So, my thoughts initially was just like, I'm going to friggin' 2 years before I even started, I bought a bandsaw and a sander, and I kind of failed at it by myself. The Ottawa City Wood Shop here in town is incredible. There's amazing people there that will help you bring your wild thoughts into fruition, and it's incredible. But yeah, so woodworking kind of came about just getting there, being inspired by folks, but knowing that skateboarding was my past and what I wanted to bring into the fold. You know, you can do a reclaimed edge or, you know, live edge, anything. That's great. But, you know, skateboarding really is my thing. And so just kind of brought it out and just been sticking with it.
Yeah. So some of the stuff you make, I've seen, like you make canoe paddles is a big one.
Yep.
I've
That's sort of my main business.
Yeah.
Just doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. A baseball bat.
Yeah.
Which you can hit a home run
fun.
with.
Yes, that's super fun. Yeah.
And then I saw like it was like a levitating plant holder, and like so. I guess there's not really like an instruction manual you can follow. You kind of all do it. Like you kind of just see what you want to do and you make it, right?
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, and it's the OGs. It's the guys I'm telling you about, the guys and the girls that are in the shop that just friggin', hey, I have this wild idea. And they're like, oh yeah, that's doable. And they're just like, you know, these old timers. This guy, Richard, who's my favorite human pretty much at the wood shop. Just super unassuming, but like the nicest human ever. Everyone in there loves him. And he's just, you know, if you have a crazy, stupid idea, he can bring it to life. He can help you bring it to life. Yeah. And so, yeah.
So something like a canoe paddle.
Sure.
How long does that take?
About 3 hours each paddle.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's not bad at all. I thought it was going to be like
Production work, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I've got to a point now where I've got my jigs in place. I've got my process pretty well dialed. You know, I'm probably making close to like my 100th and something paddle at this point. So, and you know, I've taught a class on how to do it and it went really well. And so it's one of those where it's come to a point where it's pretty good. Yeah. Yeah.
And so the paddles were, you said they're a main part of your business.
Yeah.
So that's Maru the Circle Brand, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So kind of how did that start? Because I know it didn't start as canoe paddles, right?
Right. It started as like clothing and stuff like that back in the day. So these guys, Raised by Wolves, is like, they're like my super good homies, just university homies and stuff like that. Me and like, you know, when I was doing my master's in university, I was just like, it was one of those where I just didn't feel like I was fulfilling like my creative side of things. It was very much so just like grind, 6 a.m. to midnight, school. And I just needed a nugget of creativity besides skateboarding a little bit, getting out. I was also living in Halifax at the time. Very much so kind of by myself at the time. I kind of like moved from here to Halifax to do that. And so I'd bounce ideas off of my friend Cal Green all the time, who's part owner at Raised by Wolves. And it was just like, yo, what do you think about this? Sort of a brand around photographers and skateboarders, but like skate photographers and stuff like that. And so I still make camera straps. It started off with camera straps and clothing. The camera straps are still selling. I still sell a handful a week and stuff like that. So I have my laser and I produce those and, you know, laser in people's like Instagram handles and things like that. And yeah, so that's kind of how it started about. And then it's just, Maru is kind of like my hobby brand. And it's just kind of evolved into just everything, a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's Maru, am I saying it right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It means circle, right?
Yeah, in Japanese.
Yeah. So kind of how did you come to that name?
It's circle. It represents the lens of a photographer. So that was kind of the genesis of that. I don't remember how it came about anymore. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome though.
Yeah, thanks.
For the paddles.
Okay.
Where do you get your skateboards? Like how many does it take to put in one paddle?
It can be like pretty much parts of two boards. You could probably do it with one board. And the boards come from the city. Top of the world, Burling, primarily Burling. My homies that own that shop and stuff. So they'll just save a stack for me and they know what, they know what I'm looking for. Just colorful boards and stuff like that. And it's so much so to a point now where when they go into designing a board, they'll look at, Szeto, these are the types of plies we want to put into this board. Are you cool with that? And, you know, so we go in knowing that, you know, there's going to be a recycled life cycle for this board, right? And there's going to be a second life for this board into a product. So, you know, we kind of go in knowing that. And yeah, it's awesome.
That's unreal. So
Yeah.
you don't have to buy them or anything. Like it's just,
Nope.
that's awesome.
They're broken, generally speaking, or they're worn down to a point where, you know, nobody should be skating it. So it's one of those where let's cut it up, make it something else.
Yeah. That's awesome. What's how long does it take for usually for the average skateboard to break? Like my knowledge of skateboarding is pretty much Tony Hawk Underground and that's, but like, so how
cool.
long?
That's amazing. It really depends on who the skateboarder is. Like, you know, when I was in my prime, let's say, it would be like 2 weeks. After about 2 weeks, a board pretty much is either cracking or I've got like crazy razor tail on one end or something like that. And it's just wear and tear, right? These days I can skate a board for a few months, right? Just, it depends on how much you get out there and how much you're giving her. But yeah, multiply that by 100, 200 skateboarders in the city and, you're getting boards and fairly regularly and stuff. So I've been really fortunate to have a solid stack of boards and never really run out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you say there are only about 200 skateboarders in the city?
That are like, going at it day in and day out, kind of really, putting wear and tear on their boards to a point where, they're cycling through boards regularly. I'd say about that. Yeah.
Okay. It's not bad though.
That might be high too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. So like, that's huge that you get your boards for free.
Yeah.
And then I noticed with Maru, you were featured by an Ottawa company. There was like it was like a 3-minute featurette on you. I saw it online. I can't remember what it's called.
Is it like the Ottawa tourism video
Maybe.
on me?
That's might be. But it's like under a different name.
Yeah. It's, what is it called there? Ottawa's Finest? Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. How did that come about?
They just asked me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. They're cool. My buddy John Kishel filmed it all. John is an incredible videographer. I think he's one of the best in the city, hands down. Just Pixel is like his deal. And yeah, he's a super talented dude out of the West End. And I kind of owed him one. He actually shot the Kickstarter for my jackets back in the day. So I actually did a Kickstarter for these jackets through Maru. Called them the Photomoto jacket, and he did that for free at the time. And I was just like, dude, I totally owe you one. And if you want to make this thing happen, I'm all yours, And so he was just like, yeah, let's do it. And so yeah, we made it happen and stuff. And yeah, it was really well done, really well shot. I think it's some of his finest work. So super happy to be a part of it at the end of the day.
That's awesome. And so we talked about making like other products like the baseball bat and all that stuff.
Yeah.
From what I know, you've never actually sold it.
Yeah.
It's just like kind
I
of
actually have sold one of them.
You have sold one of them? Okay.
Yeah.
They're just not on your website, so I wasn't sure. I know you haven't updated it in a
I only
while.
make like one a year. So I'm just like, and I'm, as you can tell, I'm probably a terrible business person. Like I just don't really sell anything. I like making it and like being like, here's this nugget of an idea. I don't think it's doable, but let's go ahead and try it, And then like, if it somehow miraculously works out, all the better for it. I'm just like, I'll just jump out of my friggin' mind of it, like, with stoke, right? And that's really that's the point of it. I'm just trying to have fun. Like I have a full-time job and stuff and the side gigs are awesome. Weddings are awesome. Like, yeah, money-wise, things are okay. So it's just like, let's just do it for myself and like stoke myself out. That's really the genesis and the whole point of a lot of things, really. Yeah.
And then kind of going to the travel part of everything. So do you travel a lot because of your full-time job? Yeah. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're on the ships and you're just kind of going wherever they're going.
Yeah, Coast Guard. There's no coast here in Ottawa.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm fortunate I get to go out to a lot of random spots because of work, and I try to make the most of it while I'm out there. Yeah. I think it's, I think we're all the better for it. That we show and are actually engaged with local communities and stuff like that as well, and you hopefully spread the word organically when you're hanging out with folks like that, right? So yeah, it's just like I just got back from Nova Scotia where I had the time of my life with my good pals there. Those are all friends that I essentially made when I was out there studying, and then I got back from Rankin Inlet not too long ago too, and it's just like far north. That's the second biggest community up in the Arctic. And just, incredible place, incredible vibes, good people that work for us up there, and just, super stoked.
That's awesome. And then have you ever done any travel for other client work that's not related to your full-time?
Good question. Not of late. No.
I know you did some stuff with Maru. You used to do some video stuff with Maru, right?
Yeah.
And then I think it was like out in Seattle.
Yeah, that was like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was like, again, the genesis of it was like cover some, photographers and stuff like that. And so I hooked up with my buddy Jordan Nicholson. And I'm not sure if you saw the piece or not.
Maybe.
But it's my homie Jordan, he's just an incredible dude. He's such a positive spirit. out in Seattle. He's a photographer who has no arms.
Yes. Okay. I did watch that one.
And so it's just like, but he's like, he shoots with like Macklemore, and he shoots with Jeff Burnett and all these guys. And he goes out to South Korea to film with them and shoot with all these people. He shoots all these music videos for these awesome rappers out in Seattle. And it's just like, you know, for somebody who's, you know, at such odds to come through all that and still be one of the top in the game in such a, you know, competitive city. He's just, and to also be such like just a positive force in the world. I just, you know, I had to go out there and meet them, and Maru just kind of gave me a reason to do that. And yeah, it was an incredible, awesome experience.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite destinations that you've been to?
Favorite destinations that I've been to? I mean, honestly, Nova Scotia's up there. Just the homies and what they're doing out there. They've kind of like, they're really developing a community out there, out in this spot called Cow Bay, which is about 20 minutes out from Halifax. You know, they've built themselves a little dirt bike track. They have an indoor bowl. They're surfing right in their backyard. They all own very interesting businesses: coffee, pizza, skate shop, building, construction. They're just super epic people, and it's people. Like, I really enjoy stories and good vibes, and it's just like, those people are killing it. And yeah, so that's just always such an incredible destination. We did our motorcycles across Newfoundland too, and that was incredible a few years back. And it's just like, yeah, all the things pretty much.
Yeah. And then with building like your own little community, I know you recently put out a YouTube video about buying a plot of land to build a cabin. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Are you trying to do something kind of similar here? Like maybe not to the same extent, but similar with your own little cabin? Yeah.
Try to. I mean, that is kind of, you know, I'd like to do something where I'm just tinkering with the idea of different types of businesses and stuff like that. So it's like, you know, something, get into the Airbnb game or build something that's kind of interesting and just get people stoked. It's a little far out, and I don't know if we necessarily have like the concentric group of homies and stuff that were willing to be out there and go out there and stuff like that. So I'm not sure if it's necessarily for that right now. More than anything, it's just, you know, keep progressing. And the next part is just like, you know, I'm done this canoe now that I'm building. And this is all about, the next step is building homes and bunkies and just jokes, structures. I think that's kind of it. So yeah, that's where I want to take my learning, and that's really what that's for.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was going to bring up the canoe. So I think, when'd you finish it?
Like yesterday.
It was yesterday?
Like I literally put on the seats yesterday, and I'm going to take it out today, I think. If I can get it out of my basement. Yeah, I don't know if I can get it out of my basement. I don't know if it's going to fit through that door.
Yeah.
The measurements are there, but angles and just room in that basement is sketchy, so I'm fingers crossed.
That's crazy.
I'm going to stress really hard if it doesn't fit out.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, so that's where I'm at.
And how long did that build take for the canoe?
Like a damn year.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to take that long. You know, I got through the initial parts of it really quickly, and then summer hit, jobs hit, different things, you know, travel hit, and so I've been kind of slower with it. But like, last coat of varnish went on it earlier this week. Seats went in yesterday, and I'm gonna take it out hopefully today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Any like skateboard stuff that you built to go into the canoe? Yeah.
So both decks, which is sort of like that section where the gunnels meet and stuff, right in there, you have a deck right there. Yep. And those are both skateboards. So skateboard deck.
That's awesome.
Yeah, kind of jokes.
Yeah. So, and then back to motorcycles. I forgot to bring this up.
Sure.
You also did a motorcycle trip across Vietnam a while ago, right?
Yeah, that was like our first big one. Yeah.
That's awesome. So how long have you been motorcycling for?
Since that trip, since I was 25. So it's probably, holy shit, up to 7 years now. 7 years, I guess. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then another thing with motorcycles is like people think they're dangerous to drive and this and that.
They are.
I know you had like an accident in Vietnam.
I had multiple accidents now. Yeah. Motorcycles are super dangerous. Yeah. Like, I try not to ride on the road these days if you don't have to be quite honest with you. Like, I'm just like, and it's not me, it's other people. They don't look out for you. Like, it's like, I love being on a bike, but I love being on a bike in the country, on trails and things like that. I'm kind of over roads and traffic and everything like that, you know, like, I don't text and drive, but I'm still distracted, to be quite honest with you. Sometimes, you know, you hear a ding and you're like, whoa, where was that from? Or I've got my pup in the car and he's freaking out or something like that. And, you know, it's just too easy to lose sight for a second, and that for that second to be you in the wrong place at the wrong time. I got hit last year, 2 years ago, where this guy was making a U-turn. I mean, it's, you know, I wasn't super hurt by it or anything like that. My motorcycle got busted up a bit, banged up a bit. And it was just a guy making a U-turn who didn't look, you know? And so, yeah, stupid shit happens and stuff, but motorcycles are awesome. Just sometimes like just kind of dangerous on the roads and stuff, but yeah.
But I think there's one specific crash in Vietnam where you got like questioned.
Oh yeah, I was put in a friggin' Vietnamese holding cell for like hours, and no one spoke English. And they were just kind of like kept asking me the same questions, but without understanding what I was even saying. So I would give them the same answer over and over and over again. And we were actually calling our consulate, the Canadian consulate. It was on a Sunday, so like people weren't even there. But we actually eventually got a hold of somebody in Ottawa, and we're just like, yo, just to let you know, we're in the middle of nowhere, Vietnam, and we're being held in these like weird holding cells out in the middle of nowhere. I know this call is costing us a crap ton of money, but just to let you know, here are our names. We're all Canadian citizens, and we're held here just in case you don't hear from us the next little while, because we were legitimate concerns about what was actually going to happen to us and what was kind of going on and stuff like that. And I was, you know, so I mean, I'll show you this.
Okay.
You might, I don't know if you can move that. You can move that if you really want. Okay. But it's just like sketchy. My knee is so banged up. Like my brother looks at it and he's like, "What the hell is that?" It just looks like this little like blob on my knee here, right? And that was still from. So I was like, I fell underneath my bike, and the shifter throttle went through my boot. It went through my boot, smashed my toes. I had a couple broken toes, and then I was pinned underneath the motorcycle, dragged by my knee. And so I was dragged probably 20 feet or so under my bike and stuff. And what happened essentially was a motorcycle came on. We were on the main highway, the A1 in Vietnam, and this guy wasn't looking. And I was like, he's gonna look, right? And it's just like across two lanes and he didn't look, and I was just like, it's my bad, because I really shouldn't have assumed that he wasn't gonna look, because it's just Vietnam traffic is just, you know, everyone for themselves, right? I really should have taken additional precautions, but I did not, and I hit him, and we both went down. And yeah, apparently he went off to the hospital, but I don't know. It seems so sketchy over there. And yeah, I was dragged under a bike, then I was brought into questioning, and then I was put into this big interrogation room / holding area, and it wasn't until very late or early in the morning we were allowed to leave. And it was like early in the day that happened, so I was just pretty much our whole day was spent in some room somewhere in Vietnam, just like being questioned over and over again by police who were in there. Like, it's like a James Bond style thing where like this guy's like in like this full Vietnam police garb, smoking a cigarette across from you, asking questions. That was like, and I was just like, fuck, what is going on here? But it makes for super awesome stories, I guess.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day of that too, I was bribed $300 and American. So I gave him $300. He was like, so how they did it was like, they took a ruler to my knee and said, your cut is this big. The other guy broke his ankle. So his injuries are worse than yours. You owe us $300 American, and you're allowed to leave. And I was like, why didn't you just tell me this like 7 hours ago? Here's $300. We'll get the hell out of here. This is like the worst, like craziest experience of my life, you know? Like, yeah. So that was how that story came and ended.
That's wild.
Meanwhile, my friends were all in a separate area. They weren't being held. I was kind of the only one being held with like guards and stuff like that. And they were kind of like coming up with so they were the ones who were actively calling the consulate just to be like, bunch of Canadian boys in the middle of nowhere in Vietnam with a bunch of cops holding us and stuff. And they were kind of like coming up with like, I don't know, all sorts of other types of ideas as to like, you know, what should we do? Should we leave? And then it's obviously like they're not going to leave, but it was kind of like, what do we do in the worst case scenario here, right? Like, what if they actually start like doing stuff to us, you know? So yeah, things are going through our heads and stuff, but it all ended off well.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was fun. It was, you know, it's a really good story at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We were scared shitless a bit during that time, and I was just profusely like bleeding too. I was just like there, just like I had gauze around my leg, but it was blood like everywhere too. And so when we finally got out, we actually still had to ride because we weren't near a hotel or anything like that. So we still had to ride like several hours to the next big city. Got to the hotel. Thank goodness it was a nice hotel. A lot of these places are like little shacks that are like molded all over just because there's flooding all over Vietnam and stuff like that. But we got to a place where I could take off the gauze, actually clean everything well with soap and our first aid kits and everything like that, and things were okay.
Did you go to the hospital, or you just cleaned it and you were good?
No, we just kind of cleaned it, and it was like, you know, broken toes, what are you gonna do about it? Like, there's nothing you can do. Tape it up to the next toe over, and it was a flesh wound, you know, like it was just a big open flesh wound, and it's not like you can get stitches around it necessarily. It was just like big scrape, like half my knee was like scraped off. So it was just like,
shit.
you can't like stitch that necessarily. So you just package it up, clean it really well all the damn time. It's killed for like over a year because I think I definitely got some nerves and stuff. So like whenever I'd like bang up, like I'm entering a car and I bang up on a seat real quick, it would be like the most friggin' heavy pain for like the year or two after that. But it's since healed up all right. And so yeah,
That's like a wild story.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's okay.
I think too, I just noticed like in terms of more bike accidents, there's one like right outside your house too. That wasn't you, right?
I don't know. When was that?
I don't know. It was on your Instagram.
Oh, really?
It was like stay safe out there. Like someone just got into a crash outside my house. I don't know.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Damn, you go deep, dude.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, I just see there are accidents happen all the time, and it's just riding motorcycles is not the safest thing. It's awesome though. So just, you know, do it. Be cautious. You know. And double, triple check. Don't assume anything. Don't assume anything. Don't ride in anybody's blind spot. And I would say get a dirt bike and go in the trails. It's way more fun anyways. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. So
Instagram. We'll kind of pivot to Instagram.
Sure.
So you're currently sitting, I think I checked yesterday, 21.8 thousand.
Okay. That's like what like this podcast is about, right? Like that sort of things.
Yeah. I like to like kind of go first half like the backstory, just kind of give people context, like who you are, and then kind of dive more into.
Which is like, yeah, cool. I mean, I'm not like the best about talking about this stuff because I'm like probably pretty loose. I don't really have a strategy, like, but just post good shit, I guess, and do fun stuff and document that. That's kind of where I'm at with these days. But yeah, I guess, whatever that, 21.9 or something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
So your Instagram basically, like you said, you just kind of document what you're doing.
Yeah, these days, for sure, definitely.
So you kind of changed before? Like, what were you kind of doing before?
Well, it would be like, you know, shoot scenic locations, travel. Like, you obviously have all the most epic travel photographers out there doing their thing, and I think I definitely started off kind of like that just because I was given opportunities to travel often with work. I would go and then be like, ooh, I'm going to catch a sunset here and do that. These days, you'll see it like, you know, you watch Peter McKinnon's vlogs and he's just like, you know, up there on that peak there, that's the spot in Jasper that everybody goes to. And there's like 70 people there at 7 a.m. trying to catch that same sunrise photo. And so it just kind of became one of those where I think I was seeing that. And that's kind of the genesis for a lot for like woodworking and a lot of growing products from under my own feet and hands that maybe other people can't touch right away, right? And so it went from kind of travel photography, a lot of that kind of stuff, then transitioning into like bigger, deeper projects and more documenting that.
Okay.
As opposed to anything else.
Yeah, and you've never really deleted anything on your Instagram either.
I don't think so.
Like it's
I mean, I maybe have back in the day.
Yeah, like little things here and there, but for the most part, it's all there.
I think so. I don't know. How would you know?
Because I went back and looked. Like, I'm just assuming because I went back and you got stuff back there in like 20.
Some whack shit, eh?
Yeah, but like it's just cool because I feel like a lot of people now, once they start to get followings, they go back and they like clear everything.
Whatever. I mean, it's just life, you know? Ex-girlfriends, it's kind of fun to see, you know? Yeah.
So did you do anything specific to kind of grow your account? Was there like you used a lot of hashtags?
Yeah, I still do. I mean, that's just status quo these days. I think I was fortunate enough to have hit it, I think I was fortunate enough to have hit it at a good time and stuff, as, some of the YouTubers these days, like, right place, right time kind of a deal. Got featured a bunch by different places like Explore Canada or, what's their main one there? Explore Canada, right?
I think so. There's one that's just Canada.
Yeah, and so I was featured by them a handful of times, or very early on. These days, not so much because, I kind of transitioned out from doing a lot of that stuff, but them. I was also getting gear from Polar through my homies at Tiger Distribution in Montreal. And so they would repost my stuff all the time. Polar stuff out in Oregon has like a huge following. And so, that kind of like, every time they would do that, which for a while there was, every few weeks for a few years there, it's like, gain 200 followers in like a day because people are just stoked on your content through them and stuff like that, right? Just sort of that same vibe and stuff like that. So I was fortunate to hit it, I think, at a good time, have a couple of really rad sponsors that gave me gear. And then it was just a cyclical thing where it was just like, keep posting the stuff that people wanted to see to a certain degree. And yeah, good things happened. Yeah.
So you notice that when you get featured, you get a lot of people coming over?
That's the way to do it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
that's
for
interesting.
Sure.
Because I had a guy on here recently, also a photographer, and he found it was the opposite. Like he would get like a couple people here and there. But I just think
depends on who you're featured by, I guess, right? Yeah, I mean, Polar was huge. The Explore Canada side of things was huge, obviously. But maybe it's a few followers, but cyclically, and then back in the day, I think, there were maybe more people, like fewer people on the platform and stuff like that. So, you were more susceptible to be like, damn, this person maybe is doing something cool, right? Let's go check that out. Whereas these days, definitely is much more saturated out there. So maybe there's less of a, inclination for folks to then follow up through that thing because, why do I need to look that when, I'm already following Polar and they'll just keep pumping stuff out, right? But it's kind of like, I think being featured on it multiple times, people seeing the name over and over again, being like, maybe this guy's doing something rad. Let's go check it out, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so, yeah.
Did you have any like one or two pieces of content that really popped where like you really got like a ton of likes and then a ton of people came over? Or?
Yeah, so the one of late that I can think of is my homie Trent Presler. He's awesome. He's out of New York State, very close to New York City, and he's just, if you want to talk about community builders and stuff like that, and not community builders in like a weird, like, and I'm gonna be a jerk about this, but weird like whack kind of ways. He is one that does amazing things for woodworking and canoeing. He builds these canoes, beautiful canoes that he sells for $100,000 a pop in America, and it's just like, he's an insane dude, but he also features a ton of people who are doing rad things around canoeing and woodworking and things like that. And ultimately he's a real legitimate, authentic community builder in my opinion. So it's Presler Woodworks, Presler Woodshop on IG and stuff. And he featured my paddle that made itself. And that was a stop motion video that I made that was just like, I went through the major motions and like, we're just like, inch it through the saw, stop, take a photo, inch it through the saw, stop, take a photo, and just like kind of that whole process there. Ended up making a minute-long video. He was like, dude, that's great, but minute-long videos don't do very well. I'd be stoked. I don't know, I kind of bugged him about that one just because I was just like, hey, man, I noticed that like sometimes you feature rad things. And he was just like, yeah, it's great. I would love to feature it. Just like the only thing is it's like super long. So I cut it out to like 40 seconds or something like that. He posted it and like, I don't know, it was super rad. It went off really well. I think the video ended up getting like 100,000 views or something like that. Wow. And then just like, ended up like 1,000, 2,000 followers in like a day or something like that through just rad featurettes like that and stuff like that. So just going back to like, was there one thing or something like that, or there's certain things that get featured and stuff of late. Within like the last half a year, I think that one. There's
a couple other pictures that I noticed on your Instagram that like did a little better than other ones.
Okay.
First one, I think it was featured by Faces Ottawa or something. It was one where you're like laying down on like.
I don't know how I feel about Faces Auto, by the way. No,
I don't know anything about them. Like,
yeah, I mean, they have never asked me for permission to post anything, and I don't know. It's kind of Faces is like what, the bar mag, isn't it, or something like that?
maybe I've never.
Yeah.
They're a magazine, and I've never seen a Faces magazine.
Yeah, so they used to do a print copy and stuff like that. I just don't really know much about them. As long as folks are crediting me, I don't mind them reposting it. They've never really asked me, which I usually like, and stuff. I think it's a nice common courtesy. But sure, okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was gonna say it was like one where you were like laying down on like a dock with your drone, and your drone was like way above you. It was like the winter.
Okay.
I think they featured that one because when I was scrolling through your account, like kind of doing my research, I liked it.
Cool.
But it was like way like this was like
Drone
so long.
selfies.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's it, right? Like these features, big or small, and this is one where I don't even really necessarily. I'm just like, oh, cool, I guess. It's just like we'll get people to check out your stuff and eventually, get you to follow or whatever, right?
The other two.
Okay.
Okay, there's one that I saw that really jumped out was the underwater plane.
Yeah. Okay.
What's the story behind that picture? 'Cause that's unreal.
Well, that's at Morrison Quarry. And so, like, I dive and stuff, right? And I learned through Sharkies. Sharkies takes you there to, that's like where you learn how to dive. That's just like you get your certification. You get your PADI certification through diving at Morrison Quarry, going down to 60 feet and everything like that. And the plane is actually about 30 feet underwater over there. And it's there.
Okay, that's pretty sweet though. Like,
Yeah.
Because I noticed it did like really well, like compared to
it
your
was
other
posted
stuff.
everywhere. So that one, if you look at like my tagged photos from back in the day, I think it was featured on like every friggin' like Worldview, this, that, some really legitimate accounts, and some like kind of whack ones too. But like, yeah, that one went off and stuff. And again, it's one of those where I think it was early days, right? I think Explore Canada posted it back in the day too, and I think that's one of the blow up photos, if you will. Yeah. So.
And then there's another one that last one that really stood out to me is your friend. I think his Instagram's Captain Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tommy.
He's like riding a shark or something, or like some.
Okay,
How,
sure.
What is that story? 'Cause
Dude,
that's-
it's the same place.
Really?
It's in Morrison Quarry, yeah. And it was just like we were literally learning how to dive. Yeah. That was just during our training session. That's what it was.
Really?
Yep.
So it's not a real shark then.
No.
Okay, I was like, if there's any chance.
It's not real, but it still scares the shit out of you because you're like in this quarry. It's massive. The water is super clear, and you can be like, and the visibility is really good. You can be like, 500 meters off of it, and you'll still see the looming figure off in a distance, and you're just like, ah. Like even though it's fake, and it's fake, it's just tethered to the ground. It's a scary ass looking thing. It's just like if that were real life, sketch.
There's one other underwater picture.
Okay.
Maybe it's Morrison Quarry too. It looks like you're like swimming with whales pretty close.
No, that's in Newfoundland.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
actually diving with humpback whales.
So,
I went through a whole phase where I was really into like jumping in with underwater animals. So like, yeah, them. I went to Norway actually to try and jump in with orcas, and I did. It was just like orcas don't want anything to do with you over there. They're just interested in their food, and like if you're not food, they're just. And thankfully we're not food. They just swam away. But yeah, I had a fascination for a few years there, and so I'd jump in with every marine mammal I could for a while.
yeah, because you were pretty close, like in the picture I saw.
It was like from me to about your white chair there. For folks who are looking, his white chair is about 10 feet away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then, so with your Instagram too, I noticed a lot of your pictures don't actually feature you. Like you're not in them a lot of your pictures. Was there like a thought behind that, or it's just
People want to look at my dumb face. No, it's just like, yeah, it's not about me. It's about the experience, and it's about documenting the experiences and stuff. I never like being the selfie Sam guy. I don't like taking pictures of myself really, behind the lens kind of a guy. So that's it.
That's fair. And how, so kind of along the same lines of like being featured is collaborating. Did you ever really collaborate with anyone like intentionally and got followers, or maybe you just have a friend? I think your friend Captain Tom there has like 19,000.
Yeah, he's the best. He's like my best friend and stuff like that. So I mean, collaborate. I mean, sure, but we're probably just hanging out and just doing shit, to be quite honest with you. And yeah, same through a lot of folks like Husqvarna. Like we collaborate, if you will, or I create content for them these days. Yeah, just kind of organic, whatever works. Yeah.
Any other like content creators, kind of like other photographers you've worked with or done stuff with, or just is it just kind of, like intentionally like, hey, let's hang out and do stuff, then, or is it just like your friends?
I mean, if there are people who stoke me out and do things that are rad, this girl in town, Petra Van Eggen, I've never actually met her, so there's that, but she's doing some really rad animation work in town, and yeah, this canoe that's being done, I might like shoot a video around it, hopefully in the next week or two, and might get it to her for some animation type stuff or something like that. And so that's something we've been talking about, and she's just somebody I think who's doing something different and interesting. I think that's the thing that catches me these days. It's like, do something different and interesting, or else why are you doing it? Kind of a deal. It just looks the same as everybody else. But no, there's something to say that, you know, if it's different and interesting for you, that's important, and if you're learning, that's awesome. Yeah. But yeah.
So you just kind of reach out to her through DM or something, or email?
Yeah, I mean, we just kind of commented on each other's stuff every now and then. It's just like, you know, it's just organic, whatever works for different folks and stuff like that. That's kind of where it's been at and stuff.
With deals with Husqvarna and stuff, did they kind of reach out to you like because they saw your website, or they see like, we saw your Instagram, we like your Instagram, we want to work with you?
It's Instagram.
Instagram?
Yeah. Like 9 times out of 10, probably like 10 times out of 10, it's Instagram these days, right? Yeah.
So kind of how did they send you a DM, or did they email you?
It's been years. I've been working with them for years now. The original marketing person was Victoria Het. She is like an incredible rider, like one of the first to do like a major rally overseas and like to represent Canada doing like, so it was incredible honor working with her. She rides a million times better than I do. Just and a super nice person, like the nicest person ever. And so I started working with her actually, and we actually put together this, well, we didn't actually, not me, but she put together this, what was called the Ice Rip, and it's all their motorcycles with studded tires on them, and we go ride them out close to Montreal. Okay. And then we put together a guest list a few years back, and, you know, kind of brought some of my East Coast homies like Dean Petty, Sean Mordo, who are amazing riders or amazing people and riders. Like Dean is a person I just stayed with in Halifax, and he's pro surfer. He owns Yaya's Pizza, Anchored Coffee. Sean Mordo owns Halifax Speed Co. and just an incredible people. But yeah, so they put together these rad events, and it's just like I helped them document it. I'm paid for that work. And then it's been one of those where it's just like, hey, do you want to take this bike for a few weeks and stuff like that? And just, you know, create some rad stuff with it. And I'm just like, yeah, let's do it. And so these days, Allison Thompson is the marketing person over there. She's great, super nice lady. They're actually at the Toronto Motorcycle Film Festival, and they've got a bunch of banners up, and they're like, a bunch of them are my photos and stuff, so it's kind of rad. And yeah, it's just a good relationship. I wish I could afford their bikes, but I'm a cheap, broke bastard sometimes. So, and you know, my priorities are kind of with some of my building these days, and so yeah, kind of just saving money to do that kind of stuff. But yeah, they're rad people. Bikes are on another level. It's like nice to like go from like my beater KLR to like riding a bike that's in 2018, you know, like it's got ABS, like all these safety features, and it's just like an amazing digital readout. It's just like, whoa, this is what riding a motorcycle in 2018 is like. But yeah, I like my ghetto bike too. Yeah.
Is there any other companies you've worked with, like, or that you're currently working with?
So like with Diener and stuff like that, it's just like my good homie. We're gonna do hopefully a little video for an upcoming roast that he's doing with my pal Liam, who does Treadwell Clothing. He's out of Toronto. He's also like the lead singer of Cancer Bats and stuff like that. But yeah, they're gonna put out this roast that's like coffee meets motorcycles, and it's just got a jokes right up, and we're hopefully gonna do a rad video with that. I did a little video for them, not for Anchored, but like just wanted to make something rad for them and stuff. So I made like this Chemex handle, and then had his bean like kind of come out of the Chemex and stuff. Yeah, just random stuff. Like other things of late, I don't know fully, but yeah, I can't recall fully. Sorry, but yeah, just random ones of late that I can remember.
Yeah. So usually when they like reach out, it's all like DM and Instagram, or is there?
Yeah, or email and things like that. Oh, Novacraft canoe. They gave me a canoe last year, 2 years ago now, and it was just like custom build, right? Like top of the line kind of model canoe that they had, and they let me put a skateboard deck into it at the time too. And so they're awesome. Sarah Mills, who's kind of behind their marketing over there. She's an incredible person and great to work with, and super. I wouldn't like all my photos are freaking of canoeing these days. I honestly wouldn't be that like as much into it as I am if she hadn't reached out and gotten that to me. And I'm so grateful and so thankful for that, because it's just like such a beautiful thing to do. I love canoeing, and it's just like I have an amazing boat to do it with, and it's through them. So yeah.
You've never tipped a canoe or anything?
Oh, I have for sure. Yeah. Well, and it's mostly just to do it for the sake of doing it. I'm not like, the only time you come close is when you have dogs in the canoe and they're just ripping around. You're like, what are you doing, bud? Stay on one side. You're going to tip us all over, and I got camera gear in here, and it's going to suck.
That must be where you have all your gear in the canoe. Like
it is. But I don't know. I'm a relatively adequate swimmer. Working for the Coast Guard, you know that safety is first, and you know that you're always wearing your personal flotation device. So I've always kind of got my trusty life jacket on, and never really too concerned. I also practice like a lot of self-rescue kind of stuff, and I've been a part of a lot of rescue courses through Coast Guard, and so I know kind of what to do in a lot of these instances and things like that, so I'm never too worried. My dog's a better swimmer than I am too, so there's that. So yeah, in general, I'm not overly concerned. A camera's a camera. They're disposable to a certain degree, and I mean, not so much on your wallet, but it is what it is. And yeah, I'm not too concerned about tipping necessarily. Yeah.
What kind of dog do you have?
The blue heeler, he's crazy. Yeah, he's crazy. But he's lovely. He's awesome. Yeah. Yeah,
so
we cuddle.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So with the gear, what gear are you kind of rocking right now?
Right now, I destroyed a Nikon D800. I destroyed a Canon 5D Mark IV, unfortunately. It's like $6,000, like just like gone, which sucks. So now I was rocking a Canon 5D Mark III because I could afford it. And then at work I got a GH5. That's a great camera. Can't handle anything in low light. And then I've since bought a Sony A7 III, which I'm kind of my primary camera these days. It's good and bad, as with any camera. I wish it kind of had a flip out screen. It's kind of a lot easier for like vlogging and stuff like that. Like I don't necessarily vlog per se, but like it is a very handy feature. It does shoot better low light photos, and like that used to be my bread and butter back in the day, shooting like starry nights and things like that. So not having had a camera that's capable of doing that, frankly, in the last year or two has like kind of killed me. So I'm kind of excited to have this camera now, and it does a good job. Yeah, it shoots really nice 120p, nice beautiful slow motion. It's more or less a complete package. Yeah, so I'm pretty pumped on that.
That's awesome. When you're doing your Instagram stuff, is there any helpful apps or website you use? Like, for example, like UNUM is one where you can kind of plan your posts before you post them.
Oh, that kind of stuff? No.
Yeah, nothing?
No. I mean, I use an app called PhotoPills. Okay. And PhotoPills is just like, it tells you where the sun is going to be. It tells you, what stars, where the Milky Way is and everything like that. And, like, for actually, like, then and there, and how to, where the Milky Way will be at 3 a.m. and stuff like that. That's, how to shoot the photo better, and when to shoot the photo, when to set your alarm to wake up to get that photo. Maybe that. But like planning anything, like
no, but that like even that app there is like a perfect example.
Yeah. So that app is great, and that's about it. Like Visco for editing, VSCO. Yeah. I think I use like the Hype Beast filter or whatever, but everything otherwise is all through Lightroom. Yeah. On my computer there, and yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah. So with editing, would you say you have like an aesthetic? kind of.
I've got my filter, and I throw that filter on everything, and there it is. Yeah, keep it simple, right? It's a filter I kind of developed years ago that I kind of like, and just, don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Just put it out there. It's about the story of what you're doing, not how good the damn photo is. Hopefully, And I'm getting more and more into that. Just not worrying about quality or any of that stuff. Yeah.
Do you think having like a consistent style on your page helps you grow, or?
Probably. I see it. I don't think I really have a consistent style necessarily, because I see people who are like, people have asked me before. It's like I go shooting and it's like, oh, what's your color palette? I'm like, what? But I've seen that be really effective for folks, right? Like they go on your feed and like, aesthetically people just like love it and like, oh, I gotta follow this person for this color or something like that. I think Kyle Finn Dempsey shoots those fall colors and kind of has his really crisp oranges and things like that. He's of course incredible and has like hundreds of thousands of followers and stuff like that. And so I think that works really well for folks. I'm just kind of loose. It's just like, what do I want to do with my life this week? And I'm going to document that and make it hopefully awesome, hopefully shoot an awesome video. I do like to think now and want to put more than it is about like putting something on the feed or anything. It's more about what am I going to do with this video that's going to make my eyes pop out of my head. And so it's just like, the ideas of photo, video magic or something like that. That's kind of like, so like the idea of an animating bean crawling up the side of your grinder and then into your grinder, or the idea of your paddle making itself, those elements of magic, if you will, that you're not sure if it's going to work out going into shooting it, but then when it comes out you're just like, dude, yes. That's like going into any project these days. That's kind of like the genesis of anything, I think. And I mean, the idea of consistency, I mean, I don't use an app that's like, you're going to post this and this day, this and this day, this and this day. I'm sure that's effective for some folks. To me, it seems like, it seems a bit kooky to me. Like, I'm just like, I think it's fantastic if you're a business and that's the way you're going to do it. All the better for you. And best of luck. I hope it works. For me, it's just like, yeah, I'm going to post like 3 or 4 times a week or something like that somewhere. I usually post it like, if you want to get into like that side of things, I'll post it like probably early in the mornings when people wake up. It'll be like one of the first things they see, and hopefully just that element of stoke when you wake up kind of a deal, right? Or Sunday nights are happening and stuff like that. So I just understand that like those times are maybe times I maybe want to post. And, if I have 3 or 4 nuggets of radness a week, that's awesome. And understanding that pushes me then to like produce things that week or something like that. There's a rough idea, but like whether it's not put into a schedule per se of any sorts, it's just like, I'm going to do something rad this week and this is what it's going to be. That's kind of it. Yeah.
How much time do you spend like producing your Instagram? Like what, from start to finish, how much time do you spend on your Instagram, say like in a week?
I don't know. Like, is that like just like browsing it and stuff like that?
No, not like,
because
the
explore feature, it's just like I'll spend nights on that just because like inspiration for this bunkie right now, right? Like, and I mean, I think you should count that stuff because it's like, these nuggets of information and what you see on there propels your thinking into what it is you want to create. So, I mean, enough time for sure, probably too much damn time, but the beauty of what it is I'm trying to do these days, which is like woodworking, skateboarding, stuff like that, you put the phone away, like you are there skateboarding. Mind you, there might be a camera running over there or over there, but like, you're, especially woodworking, it's safety first, right? Like you chop off your finger, it's going to be a bad time for you. You can bring in document all you want or shoot it or want to post anything through Instagram you want, but if you chop your finger off, you're not going to have a good time. You're going to be down for quite a while too. So it's always safety first. It's the task at hand, and it's doing something effective then and there and being in the moment, right? Like kind of really making sure that your product comes through first, and then the documentation comes second, right? Like, yeah, the camera's rolling, you hope it goes well. But I'm going to make this damn thing. I'm going to be safe about it first, right? And especially when I've got students and things like that, it's like their safety is first before anything else, and Coast Guard work, same deal, right? It's just like these people are here, or we're here for a search and rescue mission or any sort of thing. We have to be professionals first, and do the task at hand, and then we can have fun later and hopefully document something rad. But that's kind of I don't think I answered your question at all.
No, it's okay. That's all right, man.
Sorry, I'm just like,
no.
Shit,
cool.
What was the question even? No, it's just how much time I put into this stuff.
Yeah, even just like your posting process.
Say a couple hours, several hours a week for sure. But yeah, it's all with the notion of propelling my craft forward, whether it be woodworking, video making, stuff like that. Yeah, that's kind of more the genesis, and Instagram, YouTube just are platforms that are just like, well, it'll be good. Let's get it out there and share, right? So yeah.
So if you were to give someone advice that wants to grow their Instagram, what would you say? So
like, do you watch? Like your style of stuff is kind of similar to like Gary Vee and stuff. You watch that guy?
Oh yeah.
He's the best, right?
Yeah.
He's the best. Go listen to him. Go listen to him and do what he says, right?
Hey, that's good advice.
And that's what it is. Like document, right? Document what it is you're doing. Make sure it's true to yourself, right? Because people can sniff through bullshit a mile away, right? And so it's be yourself, do you, and the best shit / when you hit your stride, and not everyone's gonna hit their stride, but like you go through the process, you go through the motions to figure that out, right? And if and when you hit your stride, you'll just know, and just people will see it for what it is. There's no follow for follow type bullshit. Like none of that stuff works at the end of the day, and people can sniff right through that. So it's just do you. Make stuff that's true to you, and hopefully things work out.
Yeah.
I
was going to ask you about Gary Vee just because of the use of the word document, because he uses it so much.
Exactly.
I was going to ask if you'd listen to him.
He's the best.
Oh yeah.
Like he's the best. Like he says it himself, right? Like people will think I'm a snake oil salesman and stuff like that, and maybe when I initially listened to him, I was like, definitely this guy's a snake oil salesman. But then you like keep listening, and it's like the same messaging. But the best part about his messaging is that it's optimistic, right? It's optimism over anything else. And if you're not optimistic about what you're doing, what's the point, right? Like, why are you listening to anybody else, So I think he delivers the best message. Listening to him gives you that nugget, and he does the best, right? He gives you that nugget of motivation day in and day out, right? And it's through all platforms because he's got a team of people working under him. But it's the right message in the world, that especially given where we are right now in these trying times of bullshit that comes from America, like, from the top and from all over, women's rights are getting trampled on. Just, everything's getting trampled on. It's the right message for right now, and it's stuff that I believe in, and he's great. I don't believe in everything that he says, but I think it's the right message and a good nugget of motivation. And listening to his advice is probably the best advice you could probably have at this point. So, do you though?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
That's awesome. So with other platforms, we kind of talked a lot about Instagram.
Yeah.
You don't really use Twitter at all.
No.
Yeah.
No. It's not really for me.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Facebook. I think you have a Facebook page.
I have a Facebook page, personal one. It's for like the homies and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, should I make it a business and stuff? Like, I'm like, I don't know. I don't really want to give Zuckerberg too much more money if I don't have to. Like, should I go heavy into that? I think I've kind of figured out too, taking a look at where my income sort of comes from and stuff like that. Yeah, my full-time gig, which is great. Woodworking is awesome, and I went head over heels for that. I want to say the end of last year, going into early of this year. When you make a paddle, it's 3 hours of work. I'm making basically $300 per paddle. It's $100 per hour, but stretched over the course of a few days, right? And I max out at about 4 a week. And so it's great, but they're not necessarily all going to sell. And so that's a challenge. And when you do photo video work, my rate's like $2,500 a day or something like that. And I get booked up once every few weeks and stuff like that. And the work is awesome. I'm starting to really I want to push my video stuff. And it's through this woodworking stuff that I've kind of refound my passion for the photo video side of things. And it's a really good better source of income, I find. Not that that's everything, but you also get to really push your creative juices there as well. And the ROI is just bigger and better on that end. And so I've been kind of more indexing from woodworking back over into photo, video stuff for clients, hopefully. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at these days.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, so, whether I create, so there's going back to the question, which is about platforms and things like that, whether I start a Facebook page for like my woodworking stuff per se, it's just not at the top of my list at the moment or anything like that, or like a business Facebook page isn't at the top of my priority list at this moment. It's really just creating awesome content and showing people that I can, hopefully do it for them or something like that. And, land the right clients. Not, I've got a job. I'm not trying to necessarily just, sell myself out to anybody. It's got to be a product I actually believe in. People I want to work with. People I think who have the same kind of mentality as I do, like optimistic, a positive outlook, and like, it's a right product that will actually add value to people's lives. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not really on Facebook. YouTube, I think, is a great storytelling, obviously, platform. I'm late to the game on that one, whereas I showed up on time, I think, for Instagram. I'm a little late to the game on YouTube, but, hopefully it's still stuff that it's the documentation side of things, and it's pushing me to make longer form video content, which I think is very important. And it's just documenting the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with your YouTube, you have 630
something like
subs.
that. Yeah.
But you have multiple videos with over like 1,000 views. Is there like a formula?
Yeah.
Like, how do you do that? Like, 'cause you get more views per.
You just make epic shit, like, hopefully.
Yeah.
Those ones got, like, I want to say those ones got lucky or something like that. Like, right formatting of content, right things, and maybe got picked up by the algorithms. But I mean, at the same time, it's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm like still pretty new to that. I'm not like epic at it, but I'm just trying to create stuff that's gonna, again, that makes my eyes pop into my head, and hopefully it catches on. And the consistency there, as I'm trying to put out a video a week of longer form stuff. It's not very easy. It's very time consuming, but but you know what? Clients are gonna want that, and it's the understanding that you understand how these work. When you shoot a video, you should be thinking that it's going to go to YouTube, but you'll also produce 3 Instagram videos out of that, right? And so like Halifax, for instance, like it's a fun video for myself. I produced one full 2-minute YouTube thing and popped out 3 little mini Instagram videos along with photos that are peppered along. And I think when you approach a client these days, that's the approach. You can't just spend one day on photos and here's photos. Like, it's good. Don't mind you, but like, you got to think bigger picture and how to hit all the platforms just to a large degree, right? And so, yeah, that's kind of that side of things.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and that's why I have the cameras with the podcast, right?
I know, dude, and that's why I friggin' walked in here and said, I'm friggin' impressed, dude. You're working, and you're like, I'm gonna pop this out. It's a live edit. I'm just like, dude,
I'm gonna try. Like, it's the first time I've done the live edit, so we'll see how it turns out.
Dude, but whatever. We need to do this again. We can do it again.
Yeah.
So
with the with the YouTube, you have one video in particular that your first video that really popped. I think it has like 7.8 thousand views.
Was
like
it the levitating planner?
Yeah,
sure.
Which is super sick.
Sure, I hit that concept at the right time, I guess. You know, and it's I was just thinking about this yesterday for some reason. You show up every week. Yeah. Okay, you show up every week with something fun, and you're not showing up on some calendar where you're planning like this. You show up every week with something, with a concept and a project, and you're gonna blow your own mind away, hopefully, and that's the goal. Sometimes the concept flops in the grand scheme of things. Sometimes the concept hits the world, and it's just like it works, right? 7,000 views is nothing in the grand scheme of things. It's like nothing, but I think it was like the first sort of the levitating planner stuff that kind of came out. Since then, there have been like people who are like levitate their Jordans and levitate this and that, right? It's all magnets, and it's cool. I kind of actually don't really trust them a ton. Like they work and they're good, but if you have them around your computers and things like that, I'm just like, yo, that's like sketchy and stuff.
One bump, right?
Yeah, and so I've just been like not making them anymore because I'm just like, what's the real value that it's adding to anybody's life, and / like it's made in China. Who knows the process that was made under and things like that. So it was fun for what it was. You know, it's not something I make anymore, but yeah. So I think I just had that nugget in my head. I wanted to make that happen, and I made it happen, and it was the right time. It came out at the right time, and people were into it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
That's cool. So with you, is YouTube like, is your goal to kind of start growing YouTube more and more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's more, I don't know if it's necessarily growing my YouTube more and more. It's more on the lines of making me practice more. It's making me, you know, making me put out a video and actually go through those motions so that my workflow gets better, so that I get the 2 camera setup, live editing, and it pops properly now.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just figuring out processes. Yeah.
I hear you saying that's cool. And it's also kind of like it functions as a type of portfolio for your clients. If you're using it every day, maybe a little bit.
What was that?
Sorry, YouTube. Like if you're posting every day more and more, even if you're not exactly focused on growing it, but putting out a new video every week, it just kind of grows your portfolio to show your clients.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's kind of like sloppy documentation versus anything else, but that's the thing. Like you can't be, it's more Gary Vee shit. You can't be too fancy with your stuff. You know, it's better to just get it out there and tell the world what you're doing. Hopefully have it obviously pop as best as it can, but you know, perfection isn't everything, and it's just, you know, what is it that you're doing and how are you progressing? I care more about the person and how, and there's truth in their story than I do about them producing the most epic thing every few months necessarily, right? Like, I mean, there's something to say for that, but yeah, I like following people and understanding what it is they're doing in life and how they're progressing, right?
Yeah,
So
I totally agree. It's a story more than anything.
Yeah.
Like I think you look at Casey Neistat, he talks about some of his most viewed videos of all time are shot on like a camera from Walmart.
yeah, sure.
And it's just like it's just crazy just to think that people put so much like stress into the gear when it's not. Gear helps to an extent, of course, but
And I'm always at a crossroads too, right? Can I actually present myself as a professional photographer, videographer these days if I don't show up with a red? You know, if I don't show up with a C100 or whatever it is, right? Or an FS7. Coffee ground, sorry.
all good, man.
But I want to hope that it's like how things are going to be pieced together, along with then promoting it via my social channels. If it's the right thing, will hopefully supersede just me being like producing the most epic thing that you'll only use one time ever, right? It's kind of like, hopefully I can produce a package for you that's a little more enticing. I think my stuff is still like, you know, up there and good enough. You know, it's not going to be the most crispest color graded Cine Raw that I'm shooting and editing and stuff like that. But, you know, I'm hoping that we're going to tell a couple of really rad stories here that are really going to get to folks. Right. So that's kind of where I'm at with all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So with all your content, YouTube and Instagram,
Okay.
what do you want people to take away from your content?
Well, I think positivity, hopefully, and especially in the city of Ottawa, positivity and the like get inspired to do your own thing. I think that's the big thing. It's I want to see more action out of folks, and I'm just hoping that, you know, by showing people that it's happening here and things like that. And I mean, I'm obviously not the only one or anything like that. I think you're seeing a ton of really interesting businesses pop up, but I'm hoping to offer that piece of escapism, but also a nugget of inspiration and motivation in the work and seeing the work itself as well. I think that's it, you know, opening your eyes to some of the awesomeness around the city and growing things under your own feet.
Yeah, which is awesome, especially in Ottawa, because I feel like everyone says Ottawa's boring.
There's too many people complaining, right? And it's just like, that's fine. It's not the city, though. It's probably you.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying.
But yeah, like, you know, no more excuses. Go get it.
Yeah.
You know?
So what's next for Andrew Szeto?
Yeah, so it's more projects, right? Like, it's just, what is the next big project? And, you know, the canoe is done. Took a good chunk out of my life. My back is sore. But it's, you know, the idea of building this bunkie, I actually want to get a bunkie done before the snow hits. Okay. So that's kind of the rough game plan.
Wait, so what's a bunkie? Like
a little tiny A-frame thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's eventually going to be a bigger A-frame thing. But for now, I just, you know, it's building a shelter. Yeah. think it was like Kevin Kelly on the Tim Ferriss show. It was all just like, like one of the biggest pieces of advice is maybe to go out and build your own shelter, build your own home. You'll take, it's sort of like a weird manly or, throw that stuff away, like not manly, but just like feel like a person. I don't know. It'd be nice to just like get back to your roots and just build shelter for yourself and understand how it works, understand how insulation and everything like that works, and just like take pride in being sheltered under something you built with your own two hands. And so some weird primordial kind of stuff, but that's really next. Yeah.
I don't know what it is about Kevin Kelly, but he always finds a way to work into these podcasts.
I know. I'm like, is he even that relevant these days?
Even like my personal one, like he's been referenced. This is the third time out of 5 episodes he's been referenced. I'm
just like, is he even that relevant these days? He's not running Wired anymore, right? No. Like it's been a minute.
If it's the same Kevin Kelly, that's like the 1,000 True Fans. Is that the same guy?
Is it? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. You can live off 1,000 True Fans, but fucking 1,000 True Fans is friggin' tough, man.
Oh yeah.
Really tough. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the same guy, and it's just it's good advice to start after, right? And so it's that.
Cool. And then last question.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say a word I'm gonna say, and I want to know what it means to you.
Oh shit.
All right. Stoke.
Stoke. Real. Yeah. It's pretty self-explanatory. Just like get pumped. Like, what are you doing if you're not pumped? So yeah, it's just. It's something to get.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so last part, I call it a Q&A. Okay. I used to call it rapid fire, but then people would think fast questions, fast answers. Okay. But you don't have to be fast with your answers. Like, you can elaborate if you want to.
You're trying to make more content out of slower answers.
There you go.
God damn. I'm playing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, cool.
So first question, is there a show you're binging right now on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime, whatever?
So I really like as optimistic as I'd like to be in my own stuff, I really like stuff that's kind of dark, actually, or that just like shows a parallel universe that you're just like, this is gonna happen. So I'm on Westworld right now.
Okay.
But Black Mirrors I think are awesome. I think it's dark, but it's social commentary and it's things that are gonna happen and are happening. You being rated from your social, you have a score or something like that. Like, it's bullshit, but it's happening, everything being documented, like, those episodes where you're recording everything with your eye. We might not be doing that right now, but you best believe there are webcams everywhere. There are dashboard cams everywhere. People are vlogging and they have their phones and they're able to pull them out and document you at any given second too. And so it might not be in our eye and recording all the time, but these things are happening. And it's interesting to see somebody's perspective on what this could turn out to be like. That one episode of Black Mirror that won the Emmy, actually, the one where when you're old, you basically can go live in a VR world and stuff like that. I mean, that was such a beautiful, powerful episode. And I'm actually, so it's a terrible thing. It's not a terrible thing. It's just life. I spend every Thursday with my grandma right now she just moved out of the hospital and she's in a home. She had a stroke. She can't move one side of her body. She hasn't moved for the last 4 to 5 months. She sits in a bed and is frankly super miserable, for us to maybe have that world someday where you can literally just live in a video game might be all the best for somebody in such a state, right? So to watch these kind of shows and know that the technology that they're talking about is actually coming along and somebody's working on that, and stuff that I want to eventually get to and start working on too. It's interesting, and I think that's where I like to escape, and that's where I like to watch. Yeah. That's where I'm binging those types of shows. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and a lot of YouTube, of course.
Yeah, of course.
That's just for learning and awesome shit.
What is your favorite app that's not Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter?
Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Let me take a look. Maybe Tinder. No, I'm playing. Nah. Let's see here. What's good? What do I have? It's a not social.
Yeah. Because I figure if you ask anyone, it's Instagram, right? So
Kijiji.
Okay.
Kijiji. I buy a lot of stuff, or I like to dream about buying things. So for a while there, So like land, right? I didn't buy it through Kijiji, but I was certainly scouring it to just know, right? Was YouTube on that list too? Because there's obviously YouTube.
Actually not. So
it wasn't on that list. So YouTube and Kijiji. To be honest with you, Tinder's kind of a waste of time. So there's that. But you still find yourself on it. It's like a vice, right? If you're a single dude. But yeah, those are pretty much it. Kijiji, YouTube, and Tinder. Good times.
With Instagram, is there any Instagrammers that you follow that people like, your favorite Instagrammers?
My favorite Instagrammers. Primarily my homies and stuff. I want to say like my homies, and they're awesome. Like Dean's wicked. Just I like seeing what they're doing in life and stuff like that. And people are showing progress. One person who I really like, who came to Ottawa, did a gig for tourism. I met him through that. Was Taylor Michael Burke. Okay. He's out of Vancouver, but he is a guy who's doing awesome things for social change, and I respect him a lot. He's also, kind of goes under the hood a bit. It's not just a pretty picture of something awesome. Him and his girlfriend are wicked. They're showing that they're developing their skills. They're going on epic adventures. They're learning how to, they both lead climb some really rad mountains and things like that. And then there's more than just going to a location shooting a photo. They're challenging themselves. They're, obviously safety has to be a major concern in everything that they do. They also work for an organization, I believe it's called Ocean Legacy, but they properly go and do shoreline cleanups regularly. And they show how much plastic and also foam from docks, abandoned docks like that. They're showing up on so many shorelines on BC where it's just like littered with foam everywhere. They're exposing that. They're using their platforms to tell people that, and they're showing that they're actually cleaning it up, and that there's organizations that you can then go and participate in, and to do that yourself and help out and make positive impact and positive changes. So he's a guy that I'm a big fan of. And people who are building, like Trent built a huge community. It's a Presler wood shop, and he's just a great guy. Those are two that just off the top of my head, big fans of, and I think they're doing that right.
Yeah. That's awesome. And then you talked about YouTube.
Yeah, sure.
Who are like your favorite YouTubers?
So McKinnon's probably at the top, like more so than Neistat probably. Like Canadian, good old Canadian dude out of Toronto. It's just comes at you a ball of friggin' energy, but a lot of really good factual information and learning. Like you can learn so much from that guy, and in a good way. He's such an amazing individual, and he's Canadian, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
So Peter McKinnon, yeah.
Yeah. Where do you land with his vlogs? Do you like his vlogs, or do you wish he was still doing more tutorial stuff like he used to?
I think they're great.
Yeah.
I don't know. In my opinion, there's not a thing that he puts out that isn't good. So I don't know. I don't mind it, like either or, because tutorials are tutorials. That's the thing too. Like the way Gary Vee puts it out, it's just like, I don't need to tell you how to necessarily do something. If you see something and you want to do it, go freaking YouTube it up with somebody else, or go Google it elsewhere. You'll be able to learn it. Yeah. And it's how people live their lives. It's kind of nice. Yeah. So I don't mind it. I think he's doing a great job. Yeah.
What's the music you're listening to right now? The more weird and random, the better.
So what is it? Couple. I'll list off a couple and not take too much time. DJ Quads is epic for friggin' YouTube, Instagram stuff. It's got a free SoundCloud. You can download for pretty much everything. Petra put me on that, and friggin' super stoked on having her help me like that. That was awesome. The music is incredible. And then one of the guys at the shop, Murray, he listened to a lot of Leaf Volbeck. And at first I was like, what is this? It's so slow and stuff like that. But like, it's actually so soothing. And his music, he's a Canadian guy. I believe he's out of Montreal. And it's just like, now I'm starting to sing along to it. He's always in the shop singing along to it. And he's got a great voice of a goddamn angel, right? And it's just soothing. So when you are doing like, really intense work and stuff like that, and you can have background music playing, I just find it puts me at ease, and it's great. So maybe those two for now. Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you have any books that you've read or that you'd recommend?
So I'm actually reading a book right now. It's called Canoeing Through the Mountains, and it's by a local guy, Phil Weir. His son put me onto him. His son actually bought a paddle for him. His son is a guy named Pat Weir, and his Instagram's like the Pat Weir. He is a Canadian kid, originally from Ottawa, lives in Vancouver. He does incredible drone work. So he shot all the drone work in Deadpool 2 and stuff like that. And he's just an Ottawa dude who reached out to me, and I was like, oh my God, dude, you are incredible. And then he bought this paddle for his dad. And so I went and delivered this paddle, and then he's just like, oh, hey, this is amazing. And they were like the loveliest. So his mom and dad are the loveliest people ever. And his dad's just like, let me give you this book that I wrote from a canoeing adventure. And also, if you want to go canoe some white water sometime, just let me know. We can go do it. And I'm really hoping to do that actually before the year closes out. But it's about his adventure through the Northwest Territories out to the Mackenzie, but it's through mountains in the Arctic pretty much. And it's just like the most psychotic canoeing adventure that I'm just like, I can't even, I love canoeing. I like flat water, mellow canoeing, but he's on another level. And this book, it's really well written, and he's a local Ottawa guy. And, I'm not a huge reader, but I definitely pull it out every time I'm traveling, and it's great. Yeah.
Any podcasts you listen to?
The Gary Vee podcast is great. Akimbo by Seth Godin is good. It's new. It's pretty much like, his blog brought into him reading it out kind of a deal. His voice is a bit monotonous, so I tend to not hear everything and have to listen to things 2 or 3 times, whereas I do find the animated voices of Gary Vee and stuff like that, like you just can't miss it sometimes when he says something, right? Radiolab is incredible. Radiolab's just like such a well-produced, it was like sort of my first foray into podcasts, listening to them, and it's such incredible storytelling. There are stories that are just like, they're award-winning, and they're just like rightfully so. It's just how a podcast could and should be done if you had the million years and all the production time and stuff like that. Other than that, Freakonomics is awesome. Science Versus, I love Wendy Zuckerman. She's wicked. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Travel a lot, so I listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff.
And do you listen to them on regular speed? Like I know some people listen to them at like,
No, sorry, I don't listen to it on fast speed. Yeah. I've like seen that, and they just sound like mice, and so I'm just regular speed. I want to get to know this person. I want to get to know their tone and get a vibe for them. So I listen to regular speed. Yeah.
I hear you. See, I listen to them on double speed.
Do you?
It's weird because you take your headphones out and everything feels like it's in slow motion for like 5 seconds, and then you kind of snap back. It's weird.
Now, like, do you watch Dragon Ball Z?
No.
Have you ever watched the Dragon Ball Z?
Not really. Like,
God damn. But I'm just like, do you find that you're just like, information comes slower to you after you've listened to everything double time, and you're more capable then of like sucking up
maybe
information?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Like there was I went to a thing yesterday. It was called Creative Mornings.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Friggin' dude, Maxine who runs it, it's incredible.
Yeah. So I went to my first one yesterday, and I'm so used to listening to Gary Vee keynotes at double speed. I'm listening to a regular keynote or like a speech at like normal speed. Yeah. So it was like different. It
You're
was
like, hurry up. No.
I was just curious because like I listened to it, so I was wondering if other people
I listen to regular ass speed because I like to just, things are slow with me. Yeah.
Restaurants. This is kind of a local Ottawa question. Restaurants in the city you'd recommend, or like little hidden gems?
Oh, they're the best. So Citizen, incredible. Town, incredible. Same owners, Mark and Lori. Mondays, they do Meatless Mondays with Mike Frank and Drew Fraser. That, like, it's just such a friggin' combo. I love them. Ivan's crazy, but Union 613 is awesome. Also a rad hit. They got Jabberwocky upstairs, which is a nice bar. Been going there for years. They've been having in this other spot, they've been having a tough time because there's so much damn construction in front of them right now. They've had to put up a bunch of signs, but I go there once a week and take a takeout box. And it's so much damn food. It's like $15 for like a takeout box, but you're going to be eating for like 2 or 3 days. Ceylonta on Somerset. It's like Sri Lankan food.
Okay.
and it's a friggin' gem. They're just going through a really tough time with construction right now. So if more people can go there, that'd be awesome. Because I don't want to lose them. They're just like, you know, it's such a great value for so much food there, and they're great people. Those are kind of a few, yeah.
Yeah. So this morning and night routine's like a consistent one. Like I'm just personally
You're
interested.
going heavy into Tim Ferriss territory here.
I sure am.
My dog hair right here.
Could have been my dogs too, but
we'll see. Your girlfriend's taking a long walk, isn't she?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like, don't come back for 2 hours. No. Rituals. Coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee is a big one. Whether it be if I don't have cream, I'm terrible. I drink coffee with cream. If I don't have cream, I will make a Chemex, and it'll be awesome. If I do have cream, I'll usually make an espresso just because it's kind of quicker. That's usually it these days. I've been, you know, like I said, I've been jamming some Lee Fullback in the morning to kind of soothe and take things easy there. And then a lot of nights it's usually woodworking and stuff like that. And, you know, I kind of just get into a Zen state when I'm doing that, and a little bit of skateboarding before that. So I'll usually finish work, skateboard, and then woodwork / document it all while I'm there and stuff. So that's kind of usually when I'm not traveling, that's kind of like my routine, and it's just like progress always, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, now this next question I've stolen from Gary Vee.
Okay, straight up.
You might have heard
Post
it if you've listened to his pod sessions.
Okay.
What are you obsessed with? And it's not like a high level. It's like a random nitty gritty thing. Like
right.
There's these new trucks I got for my skateboard, and they're just unreal.
What do you
like
ride? What do you got? What do you skate? Do you skate with a longboard?
I have a longboard. I know.
I can't accept this podcast anymore. Throw it all out. I'm playing. What am I obsessed with right now? I think I thought about that the other day just because I heard it, and then like I clearly am not thinking about that anymore. I mean, you asked me a week ago, it would have been Westworld maybe. I was just like kind of crunching it just because it was kind of interesting seeing Anthony Hopkins make this world all go all crazy. I'm only on season 1, so there's like that, and it's like Anthony Hopkins is in a television show, which is kind of cool. So it's kind of obsessed with that. Clearly like trying to my own projects and stuff like that. So trying to finish this canoe. Yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
3 items on your bucket list.
Items on the bucket list. So I actually crossed off a big one this year, I think. They're just kind of like adventures and things to do. Like definitely the one would be to build this monkey and kind of eventually build a bigger home. So that's one of them. One was just like, I have like micro adventures that I kind of like I'm obsessed about. And the one this year was actually climbing what's called the elephant wall, or le Parc Noir Elephant at Poisson Blanc. So Lac Poisson Blanc. It's this 8-kilometer paddle into it. And then it's like this 100-foot rock face. It's a 5'8", like for grading of like rock climbing stuff. It's like a 5'8" wall. You can top rope it and stuff like that. So you just, you know, you hike up the side, you sling down like a 200, 300 foot, 250 foot rope or something like that. And then, you know, you tie in, you got your belay, or you belay from a canoe. And so it's just like a beautiful freaking thing. I've got like shots of it from my gram. I shot a video there. Ton of drone stuff where you're just like what kind of like, this is planet Earth, you know, you can just like canoe up to the side of a rock face and then climb up to the top and make it out. And it's just like, dude, how sick is that? So like last year, I think I first saw it, this canoe company, ABTB, out of Quebec. They popped out a short Vimeo video of it that was like a minute long. And I was just like, I need to do that. So that was on the bucket list this year. And I actually did it twice, which I'm just like so freaking pumped on. Yeah, I had some really good friends take us there the first time, showed us the ropes, literally, made sure we did it all safely. And then the second time, myself and my friend Marley, we did it ourselves. We were canoeing in a lightning storm. It was really sketchy at first, but we found epic shelter, camped out, then climbed it the next day. And it's just like, so pumped. It's such an epic adventure. So that was on my list this year. And then the third one, I don't know if I have a third one right this second. Okay. Life goals. What are my life goals? Life goal is to make like, by the time I'm 40, so about 8 years from now, have made like 1,000 products for like 1,000 people whom I hopefully have like really rad relationships with. I think that's sort of it. It's not, you know, I'm not here to be a flash in the pan or anything like that. I think at this point it's just like, make shit that's going to be meaningful to people. And, you know, hey, shit, if this thing fucked up on you, I'm going to remake it for you. Or, you know, you don't like it, I'll just give you a refund, dude. Like, it's no sweat off my back. You know, I just want to make sure we're cool, and, you know, hopefully this thing that I've made for you adds value to your life. And that's, if you call it a bucket list item or something like that, I guess by the time I'm 40, just have a bunch of rad stuff out there and create rad relationships with people. 40-year-old bucket list item. Yeah.
Next one is it's a classic question. 3 people, dead or alive, that you can go to dinner with. Can be anybody. Who are you taking with you?
This is a Ferris question.
Is it?
I think he goes one person though.
Okay.
So we're going 3 people.
3 people.
Holy Jesus. I mean, doing a Gary Vee thing where he like shits on you or something would be cool. But I think hopefully he would be somebody who would be able to, I don't know if he would be able to take a deep enough dive into your stuff, but I mean, you know, he's obviously somebody who'd just be like, if he did, that would be incredible, right? It's sort of like his like, what is it, his 4Ds or something like that, where you have to spend $10,000 to actually see him or something like that. I mean, if you could do that for free, it'd be the best case Ontario, right? So there's that. Others...
Elon Musk.
Yeah, dude. I mean, so my background, we didn't talk about like school shit, but my master's is environmental engineering. Environmental issues are a concern for me. It's a big reason why, you know, I kind of look after this or try and do this whole recycled skateboards thing. But he's that mind, you know. Obviously you watch the Joe Rogan podcast with him. That was awesome. But, you know, he's somebody who'd just be like, you know, where should I go with my career and how can I help you out maybe? Or what should I learn so that I can eventually work for you? That's kind of like something that I'd be like, you know, that would be an incredible if you could do that, because I think he's that mind in our generation that's just like, he's our Einstein, right? He's our guy. So if you get that little nugget and just like, you know, eventually hopefully work for him or something like that, I think that's incredible. Then the last one. Whew. Do we need 3?
I mean, we don't have to.
Yeah, no. A third.
It doesn't have to be someone famous either. It could be just like, it can be honestly anyone.
Like a date?
If you want to, man.
No. Yeah, a third person I really want to go to dinner with. I mean, I don't get to hang out with my really good friends enough. So even just like it doesn't happen often enough, but just like any dinner that with like Tom, his girlfriend Claire, like it honestly only happens a couple times a year, but I cherish that so much. Like it's super wicked hanging out with those two. Yeah, and it's always super inspiring and we always learn a ton. So yeah, even just, you know, it's a dinner that I go to every now and then, but if it were more often, I always cherish them. So dinner with my best friend. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's the best advice you've ever been given and by who?
Best advice. More Gary Vee shit. You hear it every day, right? It's just like your best advice is like what you did yesterday almost doesn't matter, right? And that hits home to me because it was like I was nowhere in skateboarding, to be quite honest with you. Like I had a couple sponsors and I was just like, I've done it. I'm happy. I'm so stoked. I'm getting free shoes. I'm getting free boards. I'm getting all this stuff. I've done it. I'm there, you know? And then I if I can say it, like I was 24, 25, like we're going into shooting photos and stuff like that, but I kind of stopped pushing my skating. And I don't know if that was the right move. It's just kind of like I felt like I was there and I peaked, and I was just like, dude, these days obviously it's a psycho, everyone's getting psycho good, and it's just like, dude, there was so much more to be had. There was so much more to have learned and have done, and to have, you know, just rest my laurels on what I'd done in the past was like clearly like, you know, it's you get, and then you know, shortly thereafter you lose your sponsors, and then you're kind of forgotten in a large realm, right? So that's one of those things, like, yeah, what you did in the past almost doesn't matter. It's great. Like, all the awesome, and hopefully you documented well, which is why I kind of document stuff as much as I do. It's nice to look back on. But moving forward, how are you going to continue to add value? How are you going to continue to progress? So it's one of those things where, I think that really affected me. And that's why I'm kind of always pushing myself, because I was really just like, I thought I peaked, and there's no such thing, to be quite honest with you, right? Like, when that happened, I was just like, yes. But now looking back on it, I'm just like, dude, you're such a dummy. Like, you should, like, what are you doing, dude? You're a kid. You have your health. You can keep going and you can keep crushing it. I've got a sore back today. It kind of sucks that, like, I really can't almost go after, like, the hardest tricks that I really want to do and inspire other people with, So understanding that, taking that to additional forums like photography, videography, woodworking, and combining all that and just keeping the progression of my life and kind of like things now, it's just like, what's the next project, right? That's what keeps me happy. It's what keeps me sane. And it's what I like going after. And I've really found that. That's the advice, is to not stop and just, what's next? Keep going.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's one thing about you that people wouldn't expect?
What's something that people don't expect about me? I don't know, dude. Yeah. I'm pretty open book these days, so I don't know if there's much out there that people kind of don't know. Yeah. Maybe people don't know I like work a full-time job. I don't know. What do you think? Like, some people are like, "Oh man, I'm surprised you don't do woodworking full-time." I'm like, yeah, dude,
I had no
way.
idea. Like, that could count. Just examples from other ones. One guy, he goes, "I'm a twin." Another guy, he's like, "I'm allergic to fruit." Like, just stuff like that. But it can be, you have a full-time job, because honestly looking, I had no idea.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Well, yeah, I work like a full-time job, being the main multimedia guy, or not even main anymore, but like a multimedia guy for the Coast Guard.
Awesome. So last question before we kind of wrap it up.
Okay.
What is one thing that you want everyone to know, whether it be about you or just something everyone should know?
Dude, I should have looked at these questions beforehand.
It's a big question and fun.
One thing that everyone should know. Dude, I'm gonna say the most cheesiest shit, man. Like, it's that, I don't know, you have one life. That's so lame, but like, you have one life, and if you don't live it, then you're kind of blowing it. But live it the way that you're living it, and as long as you're happy, that's all the more for you too. But I guess that's it. I don't know. I'm kind of blowing this one, but
that's all good.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Awesome. I want to give you the floor now. Where can the people find you? If you want to look into a camera, it'd be that one.
Okay.
But you don't have to if you don't want to.
Yeah, that's where I'm just like, so Instagram, it's my last name twice at Szeto, I guess. And the YouTube, I guess I'm trying to grow the subscriber shit, but I'm like not all that psycho about that stuff. You watch it if you want. If you don't, that's cool too. Andrew Szeto, I think the channel is, and stuff. It's just my name. Dude, this is great. Thank you. Dude, like, I think you're doing a good job here.
Thank you.
And I'm pumped. This isn't like, honestly, this isn't like a thing that I do.
Yeah.
But I think, you're showing up, and that's so important for all of us in the city and stuff. So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, dude.
Awesome.
Heck yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for listening, and make sure you go check out Andrew on Instagram. Again, it's at Szeto. And just in case you don't know how to spell that, Zeto, Zeto.
No, you spelled that completely wrong.
It's That was just a slip of the tongue.
So you won't be finding me, but that's okay.
Anyway, so my bad. It's a total slip of the tongue.
It's all good.
Szeto. That's it. There we go. So make sure everything will be linked in the show notes down below in case you want to check it out, guys. If you listened this far, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Again, go follow Andrew on Instagram, subscribe to his YouTube, and if you want to follow my social life, you can on Instagram at @mysocialpod. And if you want to check me out, guys, you can at @theJacobKelly. Thank you once again, and we'll talk soon.
It's a wrap.
Thank you once again for listening to this episode of My Social Life. If you like this episode, please leave us a rating and a review. The more ratings and reviews we get, the more likely other people are going to be shown this podcast. The more people are going to find it, more people are going to listen to it, and it's just better for the podcast. And if you've listened this far, as I said, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Whether you've listened to the entire thing or only bits and pieces, it means a ton to me that you've taken the time to check this out. And as I said in the intro, make sure you screenshot that you're listening to this and post it to your Instagram story and tag at My Social Pod. And if you do that, I will share it to the My Social Life Instagram story, giving you a little promo. I just want to see who's listening to this podcast. I'd love to see the community we're building here. And make sure you guys go and check out Szeto on Instagram. He's at SZETO, SZETO, at Szeto. He posts some unreal pictures, guys. They're so cool. He's going to be a follow that you won't regret. And also make sure you go and check out his YouTube channel and subscribe to him. He's at just over 630. Hopefully he'll hit 1,000 subscribers there soon. Like I said, he posts some great videos too. Like, highly recommend you check him out there. And make sure you follow My Social Life on Instagram. It's at My Social Pod. I post clips from the podcast there. I'm starting to post some quote graphics, so playing around with different kinds of content that's not just the podcast. So I highly recommend you check that out, and make sure you check me out. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at the Jacob Kelly. I've been doing Instagram vlogs on my Instagram story where I post behind the scenes from my work, from this podcast. So it's a pretty cool insight into what goes into producing My Social Life. So make sure you check it out there. Again, that's at the Jacob Kelly. Thank you once again for listening. We'll talk soon.